7 o'clock, Psycho sees Santa's workshop, and only Lee Majors can stop them. In the night the reindeer died. Be here.
You can't show that commercial. That thing looked like the Manson family Christmas special.
Think I'm way off base?
Yes, you're a tad off base, sir.
Frank Cross is more than the youngest network president in television history.
Call security, have them change his locks, and toss him out of the building.
Oh, he's fired? It's Christmas.
Thank you. Call accounting. Stop his bonus. Watch out.
He's a thoughtful boss,
Thanks, boys. Get the nurse.
a generous brother,
What did he give you last year?
I don't remember. A shower curtain. Excuse me, ma'am. I think you dropped something here.
and a true humanitarian.
I can't get the antlers glued onto this little guy. We tried crazy glue.
Have you tried Staples?
But his life is about to change.
That was a good one.
You are going to be visited by 3 ghosts tomorrow at noon.
God, tomorrow's bad for me, Lou. As a matter of fact, the whole rest of the week is a washout. Ow.
Anyone who thinks he hates Christmas is wrong.
Come back to Jersey, you moron!
It's ghosts he hates.
I love that bit!
I'm the ghost of Christmas present.
Bill Murray, Karen Allen,
It sounded like you'd seen a ghost.
A ghost?
John Forsythe, Bobcat Goldthwait,
Hey! You glad to see me, or is this a shotgun in your pocket? You know this one?
Everybody knows this one. Let's go now.
Yeah, does everybody know this one?
Carol Kane, Robert Mitchum,
I really care!
David Johansen.
Oh, I'm having the weirdest day!
See Bill Murray get Scrooged.
Hey, back off, big man. That may work with the chicks, but not with me.
Season's greetings and welcome to Movie Humpers. I'm Bob Sham.
I'm Angela. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, a Merry Christmas. It is the last Friday. Let me get the sleep out of my eyes before Christmas Day. So what we need to do, okay, is we need to go through the Christmas Carol, not the actual story, but at least 2 versions of it before the end of Christmas. And today we're discussing our 4th ever Richard Donner movie that we've discussed for the show. Can you name the first 3 Richard Donner movies that we have discussed?
Gremlins?
I'm afraid that is incorrect.
I don't remember who Richard Donner is. Sorry.
You're going to feel like a Christmas dummy
Okay.
when I remind you that he directed Superman.
Oh, yes. Okay, so Superman.
And then we did his director's cut edition of Superman 2.
Yep. And then Scrooged.
The Goonies. He directed The Goonies.
Okay. He's the Goonies guy, not the Gremlins guy.
That's right. There is a bit of a similarity here. I mean, I kind of see why you would guess Joe Dante, because this movie has humor and some actual darkness to it.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
it's the same genre.
So I think Joe Dante is actually a pretty good guess if you just didn't know.
Well, thank you.
This movie is actually really scary in certain points.
Yes.
But it also comes back to like genuine Christmas joy. It's the story of the Christmas Carol. But you know this one, Scrooged from 1988, directed by Richard Donner, written by Mitch Glazer, Mike O'Donoghue, based on a story by a fellow named Charles Dickens, starring a lot of people. This is pretty much an ensemble. Bill Murray, Karen Allen, John Forsythe, Bobcat Goldthwait, Robert Mitchum, Carol Kane, Alfre Woodard, David Johansen, Buddy Hackett, and then special appearances from people like Lee Majors, John Houseman, and fucking Miles Davis.
Why don't the cops do something about this? Excuse me, please. Great. Rip off the Hicks, why don't you? Did you learn the song yesterday? Sweet.
Busking in the street while our lead complains about people. Karen Allen seems like maybe they would have booked Margot Kidder.
Yes.
but a lead was like, Margot bullies me. She keeps accusing me of being a closet homosexual. Can you get Karen Allen instead?
Yeah, Karen Allen is a weepier Margot Kidder.
Yeah, Margot Kidder is
I
not
like Karen
weepy.
Allen, but she's constantly weepy.
She has that. She is like if Margot Kidder was more outwardly sad instead of inwardly sad.
Yeah.
But Margot Kidder is more like someone who might punch you in the mouth for some random reason.
She could have been.
Which is kind of why we like her.
Present.
Margot Kidder would just call you a slur and punch you in the stomach. But yeah, Scrooged, you know the story. It's just a matter of who the players are. This movie cost $32 million, made $100 million, so it was a big hit in its day. And this was a movie that I grew up watching. I loved. It was a basic cable gem.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever it was on, I would sit through it. I still like the classic Christmas Carol, but as far as adaptations or interpretations from it, this movie's a lot of fun.
This one is my favorite version, even over the old one, probably.
Bill Murray is a fellow named Frank Cross. He's the youngest TV executive in the history of this company, IBC Television. He's ultra cynical. Bobcat Goldthwait. This was prime Bobcat comedy era where he's doing that voice in all of his roles. Plays Elliot Loudermilk. And the movie opens on a Christmas scene where it looks like we're going to see a completely different kind of movie. And then it reveals that it's this violent action movie in which Lee Majors comes and helps Santa blow up terrorists. Frank comes in.
Show me the Scrooge promo.
It's a cold, bleak Christmas.
10 o'clock. IBC presents live via satellite from New York, Bethlehem, Helsinki, West Berlin, and the Great Barrier Reef. Charles Dickens' immortal Christmas classic, Scrooge, starring Buddy Hackett, Jamie Farr, the Solid Gold Dancers, and Mary Lou Retton as Tiny Tim.
And he's berating his staff because it's not violent enough, it doesn't show enough, and then he happens to put together a package that is even more violent and seems to have absolutely nothing to do with Christmas.
Drug addiction, international terrorism, freeway killers. Now, more than ever,
it is important to remember the true meaning
of Christmas. Don't miss Charles Dickens' immortal classic, Scrooge. Your life might just depend on it.
No, it doesn't. He's trying to scare people into thinking they have to watch his Christmas show or
something terrible is going to happen.
The world's going to basically end.
And this fellow Elliot Loudermilk doing Bobcat, doing the voice.
Well, you can't show that commercial. If you run that, you're gonna frighten people.
Think I'm way off base here?
Yes, you're a tad off base, sir. That thing looked like the Manson family Christmas special.
Well, it's a little late to get this kind of feedback.
Especially when they've been showing their Sweet promo for a month. And it's been going well. People are planning to watch this show.
Yeah, Frank does cut this trailer because they've had this plan to do a live action Christmas Carol that is live airing on Christmas.
Yes.
And even though they've planned this for a long time, Frank questions it and just happens to have his own trailer package, which really is just for a joke.
It's hilarious, though, because as he's playing it to them, he's looking at it also, but you see his mouth moving. Like, he wrote every word in this. He's, like, mouthing the words as they're across the screen.
Yeah.
He's comparing what's going on in the world. He's got images of people shooting up heroin. There's, like, fires, death.
I just realized this is our first Bill Murray movie.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. He has a brother who comes to see him, but he turns him away. He hands him a present, but he doesn't care. He has a personal assistant, Alfre, who's played by Alfre Woodard, who has, like, she's a single mother with, like, 5 kids. And she does her job well, and she seems to be the one that can be a little more straightforward with him, like a good personal assistant would be, I guess.
Yeah.
But he then reveals that nobody's getting bonuses. He fires Elliot Loudermilk for questioning him.
On Christmas Eve.
On Christmas Eve.
Or the day before.
And yeah, he rejects his brother. So as you know, in the Christmas Carol, he's visited by 4 ghosts. Most people say 3, but it's 4.
It is 4.
Everyone forgets about Scrooge's colleague, Jacob Marley, being like, hey, man, we were not very cool, bro.
Yeah, and you're bad, and so you're going to come get visited.
Yeah, so, but the guy who visits him is this fellow named Lou Hayward, is played by John Forsythe, and looks kind of like a zombie. He's dusty, he's gray.
Woo-wee! That was a good one.
But he's his old boss, and he's the guy that, believed in him. But though it's not clear why, because he was such a stick in the mud even back then. Of course, he's freaking out because he sees his old boss, who's like a dusty zombie. Golf ball gets shoved out of his skull like a little mouse shoves it out. The visuals are pretty fantastic. Oh, he has a gun too, and he lights him up, and then he drinks some whiskey, and then Lou has that Looney Tunes bit where he starts sprinkling from the holes.
Uh-huh.
Lou says, you've lived a shitty life. No one likes you. You're an asshole. You're making everyone do this live show on Christmas. You're withholding bonuses. Actually, he's either giving people a VCR or a towel. So that is people's Christmas bonus. And so he's like, look, you're going to be visited by 3 ghosts, and they're going to set your ass straight. So our man, John Forsythe, takes off.
As soon as he leaves, he's passed out, but he wakes up and a golf ball comes out of Bill Murray's mouth to kind of let him know this did happen. And then all of a sudden, his phone on its own dials the number of Karen Allen. And he runs and picks it up and leaves her this voicemail that's like, something crazy's happening and I just really need to talk to you. I know it's been like 15 years, but I just need to talk to you, because he's flipped out.
Karen Allen plays Claire Phillips, who we get in flashbacks of his old girlfriend, who they seem to, I don't know, I think the romance here is very the most forced, ham-fisted feeling, because what reason does she have to be drawn to this guy in any way? I mean, a decent conversationalist. And I guess if he's giving you the time of day, he has the ability to charm you because he's Bill Murray, essentially. When you see how he treats everyone else, that should be like the bigger red flag than how he's talking to you.
Well, that's why they broke up, because when they first started dating, he had nothing. He was like a PA at this company. And there is a scene of them at an early Christmas when they have no money, and they're very cute together, and he's funny and charming. But as he becomes more famous, he becomes a dog in this television show. This is what the Ghost of the Past is showing. And he starts choosing his job over her.
Yeah.
And she realizes that, oh, this is what's more important to you. And that's when she takes off. She doesn't let him treat her like shit. But at first, he wasn't that bad.
But then these weird things start to happen when he's at this dinner with his boss, Robert Mitchum, who is really into the idea of television for pets.
I have here a study from Hampstead University which shows us that cats and dogs are beginning to watch television. Now, if these scientists are right, we should start programming right now. Within 20 years, they could become steady viewers.
Programming for cats.
And it's not a stupid idea, because some of that exists. You can get videos. You can turn things on to some streaming services that will have little fishies that will occupy your cat.
Or squirrels.
Some dogs do. I don't think dogs are absorbing, but we got a couple of dogs that will like watch the TV and like be taken in by it, right?
Yep.
But so the Robert Mitchum, who plays his boss, I guess like the president of the whole network, he has these crazy ideas. But it's great to see Robert Mitchum at this age. He would pass away like 9 years later.
One of the things that he says is he wants things like mice to be in the movie. There's a bit later where Bill Murray tells him to staple these little antlers onto mice, and Karen Allen hears him say that, and it like throws her. She's like, well, who are you?
At this dinner, he's with Robert Mitchum and this other guy who's like a suck ass who's coming up in the company. But he thinks he's seeing this waiter on fire. And he keeps watching because weird things are happening. Like he is being haunted, right? But they just haven't revealed yet. And he sees this waiter catch on fire. And there is a sign here that he has the ability to be kind, because he takes a pitcher of water and tries to put his fire out. Instead of maybe the more selfish move would be to run the fuck out the room or something.
He also is like, someone help him. Something's happening.
But he takes the pitcher of water and he throws it on the burning man and he says this joke.
I'm sorry. You know, I thought you were Richard Pryor.
Which is a very funny fucking joke. But the joke, let me explain it, is that the thing about Richard Pryor's history that is pretty infamous and that he's gone over in his comedy is that he was once caught in a fire. He was badly burned on a lot of his body. But it was very funny. A very dark but very funny joke. He's freaking the fuck out. His boss is like, what the fuck is wrong with him? And he gets in a cab, and the ghost of Christmas Past is David Johansen, former frontman for the New York Dolls. I've got enough about your personality. Would later call himself Buster Poindexter. Me mind on fire, me soul on fire, feeling hot, hot, hot. With a hit single, Hot, Hot, Hot. And he is the pride of Staten Island, David Johansen. But he's also like an elf. He's got like pointy ears and shit.
He's an imp, I think.
An imp.
Yeah.
But he's a cabbie.
Go back to Jersey, you moron!
Take me home right now.
You got it, pal.
And he takes him to his childhood home where his dad is unloving. His mother seems to be a little more loving, but doesn't do anything about it.
He never got Christmas presents. His dad would bring him sides of beef from the butcher shop.
He brought him like a certain amount of pounds of veal. And when Frank is looking at it objectively, he's like, you know how much that veal would cost today? That's a great gift.
His dad is played by his brother in real
Brian
life.
Doyle.
It's really brilliant to do that.
But when he sees his mom look at him so caringly, it does move him. But then that's when we get the Claire Phillips meet cute. But before that, he's at the party and everyone is having a great time at this Christmas party, but he's dressed like Steve Jobs with a little curly mullet. And even Lou is like, hey, man, you know there's a party going on here. And he's like, I just got a few more things to do. But he ends up outside of the party, and that's when he meets Claire Phillips. They hit it off.
Literally, she hits him in the head and then calls him Lumpy for the rest of his life.
And then we get into the part where he's dressed like the dog, and he's making his way up the network, and then she leaves him. And that's pretty much the story of the Christmas Past. So he keeps going forward. And while things are moving along, Bobcat Goldthwait's Elliot Loudermilk is becoming more and more unhinged. He's afraid to go home because he's lost everything. So he's just been drinking from from Christmas Eve on, just constantly drinking.
He tells us later that he did go home and tell his wife he lost his job, and she took his tiny baby girl and left him. So that's why he is like, he says it at the end when he's yelling, but yeah.
Frank is then visited by the ghost of Christmas present, my girlfriend, Carol Kane. And
this is our second Carol Kane movie.
And yeah, the first one being Ishtar.
Ishtar,
she's the girlfriend in Ishtar. Traditionally, the ghost of Christmas present has this fairy-like look, right? I believe that's in the old story as well. This fairy is, in the sense of bringing you down to reality, is a sadist. Is coming up and punching him in the face, trying to gouge his eyes out, kick him in the balls. It's just this. So she's talking in this very cute voice, but is being extremely violent. And when he threatens her back, she's like, "Yeah,
I'm gonna rip your goddamn wings off." Okay?
Oh, you know I like the rough stuff, don't you, Frank?
I like that. I tell you, I had a crush on Carol Kane since childhood, especially this era, right? Yeah. And the Ghost of Christmas Present does it for me. I gotta say, there's just something about.
Slap them in the face. Close your eyes. No picking. There's Mr. Hedgehog. I wonder where he's going. Perhaps to Harlem.
I mean, if she can punch me in the face, I don't feel like I'm into the S&M that much, but...
You'd let her tweak your nipples.
More. Hey, come on, Frank. Next stop's downtown.
Yeah, I'd even let her punch me full hog in the face at least one time. If that's what she really wanted. What about you? Would you let her, yeah, you would.
Oh, look, Frank. What is it? I can't find the card. It's a...
Before Frank meets the ghost of Christmas presents, he has this interaction with some homeless people that are at the shelter that Claire works at. And that's important because he actually has an interesting human interaction here. But the ghost of Christmas present is then taking him around. One of the things that she shows him is that one of the homeless guys that he was just casually talking to at the shelter ended up going into the sewers and freezing to death. So he sees that dead body. He sees his assistant, Grace, is played by Alfre Woodard. She's got a son who saw his father murdered, and this boy hasn't said a word, and he's like the Tiny Tim stand-in, right?
Mm-hmm. He's probably 8. He saw his father murdered when he was about 3. She takes him to his brother's house. So he was trying to get his brother was trying to get him to come over for Christmas Eve when he came to see him at the beginning and gave him this present. He always says, no, I don't like Christmas. I'm not coming over. Well, the brother and his wife have like 2 sets of friends over, 2 couples, and they're playing a game. And it's a movie trivia game. And it's killing Frank because he knows all the answers to these things. And they're having such a good time.
Easy questions.
They're very easy questions, but these folks are acting like they don't know. But it's very sweet because he doesn't want to go. He actually wants to be there. But he would have never known that because he just, sight unseen, said he was never interested in hanging out with them for some reason. Mm. He's just a grunch. A Grinch.
Total grunch. So that scene ends and the ghost of Christmas present flutters on to become a dom to someone else. As he goes and we see Elliot Loudermilk getting guns and shit. Like, for a guy who was so opposed to the Christmas violence that he saw on TV, he really became so unhinged that he became the Christmas violence by the end of the movie.
Yep.
So it's getting closer to the live show, and then that's when we get the ghost of Christmas future starting, but he's expecting him at this point. So he's accusing
the actor in the show.
Yeah, he thinks the actor in the show is him, but he knows. But it's a really cool shot where I like the way they represent him, because when we first see the ghost of Christmas present
future,
we see the monitors behind Frank, and the ghost face just kind of starts to come in on the screen. And then he walks into an elevator with him, and he thinks it's the actor again. But then he opens his robes, and it's like there's creatures, lost souls within his cloak.
This is an image that has haunted me my entire life.
Did our people do that? We're going to get phone calls.
It's pretty creepy.
It is so creepy. And now looking at it again, you can actually see that what they did was pretty brilliant, because they're little people who look like they've been shrunken. I think one of them is a woman that even had like nail polish on her fingers. So it's the idea that these lost souls have been taken and are just being tortured inside.
If Frank doesn't change, he could end up in the ghost of Christmas Future's cloak.
I think that's the implication.
But another cool idea they have for the ghost of Christmas Future is that when he's present next to Frank, the ghost face is a monitor, because he's a TV executive, right? So you see the skull on a monitor on this big. The costuming looks pretty fantastic. So he goes, and what does the ghost of the future show him?
He shows him Claire. It at this brunch with these ladies, and it's very weirdly stark. And Frank does make the comment at one point. He's like, this is only a maybe future, right? Because it's not really all drawn in. But she's being cynical, and she's hating. She doesn't want to help these little children who need food, where that's all she does currently is help people who need things. And she talks about, she's like, oh yes, well, someone once told me that I should just kick them to the side. And that was him. And so basically saying that if you don't make that right, she's going to become a terrible person. Which that one seemed a little far-fetched to me.
Yeah, that one was, And then we get a very minimal, almost like it's in a warehouse and he's at a funeral. Is that his brother?
He thinks his brother's dead because he sees his brother's wife. But then his brother walks up with the priest, and it's actually him. And he's saying, don't burn me, don't burn me. And then
this is scary, too.
He becomes inside the coffin.
Yeah, they're putting the coffin in an incinerator, and we see Frank in the coffin as flames start to like envelop his feet. It really is scary as shit.
It is really scary. And
so you can kind of understand why you would wake up and feel very grateful that you're not in that scenario. And sure enough, Frank wakes up.
I'm alive! Holy shit, what a freak! I'm at work! Oh God, it's the sun! I never want to see the sun again! I'm alive!
Not alive!
You know the story of the Christmas Carol. He is happy. He's doing his classic Billy Murray riffing. But when he comes back and he realizes everything is fine, Bobcat Goldthwait is there with a gun shooting the place up. But Frank is so happy to be alive, embraces him, and tells him, "You're back, double your pay.
You were right.
You were right." And then he goes down and the live taping is starting to wrap up near the end. And then he just jumps in front of the camera. Robert Mitchum's at home watching with his wife.
And cats.
Getting pissed off. And he just gets in front of the camera and it brings the whole thing back to like the Christmas spirit, the holiday spirit, the goodwill towards men spirit. And he kind of goes on this. It's definitely like how Bill Murray would just kind of riff when you need him to hold court and like entertain people.
I mean, it's a night. You've got to party hardy, Marty. Look at this. Check this out. Whoa! Don't be so mean. Look at this. There's a rule. There's a tradition that says I have to kiss this girl on the lips. Well, she's just upholding the law. It's a federal law, actually. It's not just a state thing.
It also felt very, I mean, this is from 88, so it does feel very, it literally is 80s, but it just reminded me of the 80s, like the way he was, the style and the type of joke. And this is what he used to, this is a lot of what prime Bill Murray was. And when he'd come later, after Jim Jarmusch kind of, and Sofia Coppola rehab his image,
yeah.
He became a bit of a different actor, and Wes Anderson too. Like he went through another stage of his career, but this is the beginning of the winding down of the prime Bill Murray can carry a comedy and it make a big box office level. And it wasn't maybe towards the late 90s when he had that shift in his career. But yeah, this was prime comedy Billy Murray, and he's doing his... he's just interrupting this live broadcast, and a lot of people are confused at first. He ends up bringing everyone around, including a lot of people watching and the people who are mad at him at first for interrupting it. And then everyone comes around and everyone starts to sing.
Oh, check the house with both of
This is also worldwide broadcast. So he's talking to the whole world. And everyone is enwrapped. Even Robert Mitchum is like...
By the end, he's...
hugging his wife and listening to him talk. And yeah, he starts leading them all in a song.
And when he looks up, he sees all the ghosts, like, up high, just giving him the approval.
Including our guy who froze.
Yeah, he's in there,
and
too.
And he's an angel.
With, like,
or he has wings.
And that's Scrooged by Richard Donner.
And Karen Allen's there, and they're in love.
Right. I didn't really... I mean, it's all right.
I know.
I
it's
just didn't care.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it was back then. It took... there's a lot... The romance was often just shoehorned. And it was like that in movies for decades, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess it still is sometimes, but not as much. But also, there seems to be notably less convincing romance in modern movies compared to when you go back. So it's, you know, it's a give and take. It was almost too much in one direction, and now it's like uninspired in another direction.
He had more on-screen chemistry with the blonde who worked in the office, who you could tell they fucked. Yeah, that was more palpable than his relationship with Karen Allen.
It doesn't... I still would say that the Claire Phillips character, because she cares so much about other people's well-being, would be completely turned off by the way he treats other people.
Yes,
so that makes no sense.
No, she's seeing him do terrible things, and they just keep talking, and every time he speaks directly to her, she goes all googly watery-eyed.
Yeah, it makes her seem kind of stupid.
It does.
Because she could do better.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of personality. But by the end, I guess he is the kind of man that she actually wants him to be.
And somehow she knew that was in him all the time?
I guess.
It's Christmas.
It's Christmas! Before we give our rating, folks, we are getting rid of one of our RSS feeds. It is the one with the Documenteers episodes on it through SoundCloud. It will cease to exist early in the new year. This Sunday, for the pod listeners, we are dropping a special edition drop where we tell you the new name of the show, and also a preview for January's theme. We go through all the movies we're going to discuss then. So if you want to know beforehand what's coming, I usually make these fun trailers for the YouTube feed, and a lot of people who watch it through YouTube see that. But the pod people will now have their own preview episode announcement every month. But this announcement is also regarding some changes, including the new name change, and that will drop on Sunday. And then on Monday, we will acknowledge the new name of the show, but we will spend the rest of the month saying goodbye to Movie Humpers. So it's still technically Movie Humpers until the end of the New Year's Eve episode. But, and that said, Scrooge 1 through 5, just the forced romance is the only complaint I have.
Yeah.
And it's significant enough to hit it pretty hard, but it's also typical of the time. But this movie, I love how scary it is. I love how fun it is. And when it brings it back to that holiday cheer, it's genuinely effective.
I cried watching this when the little boy who hasn't spoken in 5 years walks up and reminds Bill Murray that you're supposed to end with, and God bless us everyone.
Yeah, the first time, you were crying.
And then seeing the homeless gentleman with wings on happy,
Yeah.
boo-hooing.
I cried when I realized that we weren't getting any more Ghost of Christmas Present stuff. So I understand.
You did see her at the end for a second.
Yeah, for a second. But she wasn't stepping on my balls with high heels. That's a joke. I don't think I'd actually like that. Though I haven't tried it. Scrooge, I'm going to give it a 4. I think it's a great 80s Christmas comedy, and I love that tone, kind of like Gremlins, how it's like it's got the scary and the funny like Gremlins does, but it actually has great optimism at the end, as you would expect from an adaptation of that story.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to give it a 4.25.
Ooh. All right, folks. The movie Scrooged gets a surprising 8.25. It holds up. It's a great comedy horror. It really is some really entertaining. Even after all these years, it's still recommended. And that shares the rankings with movies like Killers of the Flower Moon, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Gaslight, Hot Shots, Bringing Up Baby, Beau is Afraid, Cabaret. It's at least as good as those movies, including It Happened on Fifth Avenue, last year's holiday classic selection, if not better. Surprising. I thought it would do very well, but it's sneaking over an 8 was a surprise to me. But we have more holiday stuff. Next week is Christmas week, and then the following week after that, there's still plenty more to go. And on Monday, for our classic selection, I believe we're discussing Christmas in Connecticut, starring Barbara Stanwyck. So that'll be fun. We haven't seen Barbara Stanwyck since Double Indemnity from Noir Month. All right. So check the show notes for links, other places to find us. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know if there's a place you listen to where you can rate it, do so. If you had to be visited, who would your Jacob Marley be? Who would be your Jacob Marley that would come to tell you that you've maybe been doing wrong and you're going to be visited by 3 ghosts? It's a good question.
Happy holidays.